All right, we are live. Okay, welcome to Hall Yeah Comics. Thanks for being here on Wednesday night. Yeah, it's Wednesday. This has been a long week, guys. I am joined tonight by Brian Ingram. Oh,
Hey, I'll take Brian. I'll take it. I'll take it. Brandon Ingram. Yeah, you're all
hold
good.
on.
You're all good.
No, it's okay. I'm getting a bad echo.
Oh, okay. Is it through my end?
I don't think so. I think it may be a StreamYard thing.
Oh.
Well. Okay, I think I may just have to live with it. If anyone's out there in the audience, can anyone else hear that? All right, I think I got it. Okay, I think we're good to go. All right, I apologize for that glitch there. All right, go ahead and take it. Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You are.
My name is Brandon Ingram. Have been a lover of comics for pretty much most of my life, which has led me to writing comics starting in 2019. I wrote before that screenplays and stuff, but 2019 started writing comics, and then from there started self-publishing my stuff in 2021, and it's just spun off from there. Just a lot going on.
And so let me ask, your self-publishing, has it all been through Kickstarter?
Pretty much all of it's been through Kickstarter. It's kind of, I was about to say the easiest way, but there's a lot of challenges with running a Kickstarter. But kind of the easiest way to get a lot of people to look at your book or pre-order, like that's the downside with Kickstarter nowadays. Is in the past it was like, hey, crowdfunding this comic, but nowadays it is kind of like a pre-order model sort of thing. But people being able to essentially pre-order the book, and then right when the Kickstarter's over, ordering all the books and then shipping them all out, sort of thing. So that's the plus with Kickstarter, is like you can dedicate like 3 to 4 months of focusing on all this distribution, as opposed to every other week thinking about, like send here, send there, whatever it may be.
Sure.
There's a lot in running a Kickstarter with marketing and all that sort of stuff that can be a headache, but Kickstarter does give creators like the ease of flow of getting it out there to everyone across the United States, across the world, sort of thing.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I want to say hi to JSS and Richard. Both of you guys, thanks for being here. You had, with a Kickstarter, you had talked about how, and I've something else. You're here because I respect the hustle. You have been everywhere. I mean, you really are. You're reaching out to a lot of people in the community. I've watched you on a couple of other people's streams. I don't think you've had a night off this week. I mean, you are busting your butt to get this out in front of people. And I think that's really neat. So with Kickstarter, you are not only able to, you're selling to individuals, but you also have some packs for people who are running stores that they can get, multiple copies that they could put on their shelves as well, which I think is pretty cool. And then you've got several different tiers on your Kickstarter, as most of them do. Personally, the one that I am looking at, you were kind enough to send me some review copies, because this is a Kickstarter for issue 3 of, and that's another question I had for you. Is this something that you plan to continue to do more issues of, and you're kind of going one at a time? Is it something is it a world you want to keep writing in?
With the Gallows Man as a whole, like for those that don't know what it is, the short way to put it, so that I can answer that question, Gallows Man is Adam West Batman meets Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
We can talk about that more later, but with what you said, it's trying to remember. Sorry, what did you say?
Do you want to continue more beyond your issue 3?
Yeah.
Do you want to keep the story going with these characters in this world?
When I wrote this, it was initially a screenplay that I wrote way back in 2017. Late 2017, I wrote it as a screenplay. And then as I was getting into comic writing, I wrote some horror anthology stuff, some horror anthology comics, and as I was getting into comic writing, I kind of dusted off that Gallows Man script and looked through and was like, oh dang, like I could actually possibly make this a comic. And I was like, oh, there's the end of issue 1, there's the end of issue 2, there's the end of issue 3, to where and after editing it, rewriting some stuff and editing it, had a comic script. And from the very beginning, it's always been a 4-issue miniseries. Now
Okay.
each issue is like fat issues. There's some thick issues. Like issue 1 and 2 is 52 plus pages each. Issue 3 is 60 plus pages, sort of thing. Um, so it's not the typical size comic, but it's how I have it structured. It is this 4-issue miniseries, and that's what it initially started as. Back in 2021, when I first put out issue 1 of Gallows Man #1, it was just a 4-issue miniseries. As time has went on, as there's been more feedback through the books I've made, and feedback about characters I didn't even think about entirely in
Hmm.
the Gallows Man, it then made me go like, oh, like I'd like to do a little bit more with this world, to where Tales from Town City #1 came out of that. And
Right.
that is a anthology that follows minor characters within this world. Like there's some homeless villains that are trying to use expired
Yeah.
coupons. There's a team of super pets slaughtering poachers, like, and it all spawned from like the homeless villains. They're in one page of Gallows Man
The
#1.
video that you have, the video trailer for that with
Oh yeah,
whoever the old-timey announcer, like, that
yeah,
had
yeah.
me giggling so hard,
Thank you,
for the yeah, that really was hilarious and very well done.
thank you, thank you.
And so, yeah, I think the marketing angle of this, like I said, you've got the hustle down. You're out there, it's something that you believe in. Um, and so I just wondered if you wanted to talk real quickly, maybe about some of the tiers that you have available. I know the one, like the sweet spot for me personally, the one that I'm going to jump in on, is the one I like physical books, but you have things for people who prefer to read digitally, and you have things for people who, like me, would rather have a physical book. So if you want to talk about those real quick, and then I have a few more questions.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So tiers range from like $1 to $199. Like every bit helps. Like it really does. One, not only like see the little ticker go up in the Kickstarter reward thing, but also like people that make a Kickstarter would be lying if they don't say this. Simply someone backing, even if it's $1, it is like a little tiny motivation boost. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
like thank you.
yeah.
Like everything
It's like
everything
getting a
helps.
comment on a video.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Like every bit helps. But regarding if people are interested in the books and stuff, digital copies start at $7. But again, issue 3 is 60 plus pages, so it's like a mini staple bound graphic novel basically. You can get digital copies of Galsman 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City #1. Digital bundle there is $18. And I might be shooting myself in the foot here. I recommend to people that live outside of the states, to outside of the US, to
Yeah.
possibly go with the digital bundle. I have no issue shipping to other countries and stuff. I've done it. I'm going to do it with this Kickstarter. Um, but if you're simply wanting to just read it and support the book, like I recommend that, because our US to Canada, or our US to Australia, or our US to UK prices regarding USPS are just insane. And,
Yeah.
and like that's out of my control. Like that's completely the
Sure.
post office, where yeah, you're buying this book, and then you're paying, like, you as the backer, you're paying the shipping of like
Right.
$35 sort of
Right.
thing. So that's for international. It's not that cost in the states. The states shipping is a lot cheaper, but it's just something weird. So international, if you want to read it, I recommend digital. If you have to have the books international, like you live in Canada, you live in UK, whatever it may be, by all means buy the physical if you do really want it physically. But um, That's something I always mention with the
Yeah,
international stuff. But
which is
in the
it's nice of
States,
you because it is going to add to the cost of somebody
oh
buying
yeah,
from another country for sure. They're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
see that whatever it is, $35, but that shipping is going to be much higher for them.
And that's also another thing. I don't want people to think like it affects me negatively. Like no, no, no. Like the shipping cost is built into the price for international shippers. I just don't want like you having to cancel
Yeah.
Netflix and Hulu for a month just to back my book, sort of thing, or whatever. But for those that live internationally and want to get physical books, by all means you can. For those that live in the States or out of the States, there's all kinds of different tier bundles. The kind of the best bang for your buck, I think, in terms of physical books is the catch-up bundle. That's what it is.
Yes,
It's
that's the one.
Galsman 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City #1, all signed. You get them all signed, and you get PDFs of the comics. You get PDFs of the scripts, so you can see if, hey, like
Yeah.
he sucks at writing, or hey, like he's getting a little bit better, but he still sucks. Whatever it may be. And you also get sticker sets and stuff like that. It's a slew of stuff you get for uh, that catch up bundle, which is just $35. Um, and then there's stuff that like you had mentioned before, Nate. There's retailer bundles
Yes.
for comic shops out there, or you don't even have to be a comic shop. If you simply just want a big bundle of these books, there's bundles for you there for strictly just issue 3, or if you want bundles of issue 1, 2, and 3, there's a bundle there for you as well as there's art bundles,
I was gonna say
original art bundles.
there's some pricier ones, but they have that they come with a premium, a piece of original
Yeah, yeah,
art, which is going to be the only way you can get because it's original art, right? It's going to
yeah,
be the
yeah,
one of one.
yeah.
That's
And
cool.
with that, like, one, original traditional comic art is already pretty rare today. Like
Yeah.
maybe 10% of the comics you see, there was traditional pencils and inks. Most of it's done digitally today, which I don't bash digital art by any means, because it's a lot easier. Like
Yeah.
the undo button is God's gift to the comic
Yeah.
creator. There's no undo button when it comes to traditional pencils and inks. Whiteout, I guess, but you can still kind of see it.
Right.
Um, but so already it's rare. And regarding Gallows stuff, it's even rarer because Helen Bolton, who is the interior artist, she does all her stuff digitally. Rick Alves, who's the variant cover artist, all of his stuff is done digitally. Thomas Tikas, who is the main cover artist of the series, he does traditional pencils and inks, and then he'll scan it and color it digitally. But he does traditional pencils and ink. So whenever he did that stuff, I bought the original covers. The covers for issues 1 through 4 are already done. Like I
Okay.
already have that original art. I have the files and all that stuff. Um, those covers I will likely never let go of in my life. I just cherish them
No,
too much.
you totally shouldn't.
But I made sure to commission him to do original Gallows Man art that people can get, that people can have.
Yeah.
And it's related to like one of the creators of the Gallows Man, like someone that is tied to the book. And so there's 2 pieces that are up on Kickstarter that people can get, and they're art bundles. So it's not just the piece of art. It is the piece of art. People can check out the Kickstarter page
Right.
and see that art. Or I mean, I made an Instagram post earlier today. They can look at that post
Yeah.
as well about it. But you can look at it. It comes with the original piece of art. It's really well done. Thomas's pencils and inks are like chef's kiss in terms of detail he does. But it's that original piece, and you get a 2-hour Zoom script consultation with me regarding a script you have, whether it's comics, movie, whatever it may be, screenplay. And also, it's not like I'm just going to be like reading your script for that 2 hours. Like I'm not going to waste your time. You're staring at me, looking down at your script, reading it.
Yeah.
You'll send that to me ahead of time. I will take notes ahead of time. that 2 hour consultation is breaking down those notes, me asking you questions, you asking me questions, uh, just really getting into it, trying to help you, trying to consult you
Okay.
about the
Let's
script. And
let's
yeah,
jump
yeah,
into a couple of things here.
yeah, yeah,
First off, a while back, and I definitely want to touch on this. So Richard asked who your comic inspirations are. And before you answer that, I just want to comment a little bit on the tone of what Gallows Man is, because you describe it as Adam West Batman meets Inglorious Bastards. I've heard other people talk about, it has that tinge of the boys, the over the topness. I feel a lot of like there's a lot of tongue in cheek kind of, and that's the Adam West part. There's like this golden age quality to it as well.
yeah, yeah.
And then when you get like that more Tarantino-esque, those turns that happen, I think it makes them a little bit more extreme, when I was reading it. And I'm doing everything I can because I am horrible at discussing and reviewing things without spoiling everything. So I'm trying to say as little as possible, but I feel like the heroes that, as I've read issue 1 and 2, the heroes feel very inspired by traditional archetypes, and they're very corny is not the right word, but there's that aspect of it. Like I said, that kind of
Well,
golden age
there's that
aspect.
classic golden
Yes.
age, the hero, like, yes. And also I do want to mention, like, not from you mentioning it, but I've heard other people mention it, and I understand. Um, but like some people mentioning like a tinge of the boys sort of thing, maybe regarding like there's superheroes and there's sometime over the top violence. One thing I will say with that, for some people that might be like possibly turned off from the boys sort of thing, is, hey Cliff, is I yes, I like poke fun at this
Hmm.
stuff a little bit, but it's all in love. I don't like
Yes.
it's not. Here's the thing: I love Garth Ennis is a great writer. I love his Punisher Max series. I love a lot of the work that Garth Ennis has done. Garth Ennis, it's very clear when you read any of his stuff, he hates superheroes, or he thinks superheroes are stupid. It's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Let's pants them.
Right.
Um, and I try not to do that in my work. I poke fun at some of the stereotypes or the stuff that we
Yes.
have with these heroes, but by no means am I like crapping on heroes.
No. And
It's
it
poking fun
it's the
without
right
like bullying
yeah,
superheroes
it's
essentially.
the right balance of what a good parody, even though it's not really a parody, but it's a love letter, but you're still doing your own thing with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what the good, people, when you're writing in the superhero genre, especially, and you're not in the sandbox of Marvel and DC, you have to, you're going to take your own path, and your path is what you said. It's a balance. There's the love is there. Definitely see it. I love that Cliff is on another stream but still watching us. What a dynamic multitasker you are, Cliff. So let's go back to Richard's question. And I have this written down as something I wanted you to talk about anyway. What are not necessarily even what inspired this, but like who are creators, writers, and artists that like when you see them, you're like, I'm gonna get this book. Who do you follow? Who are you inspired by?
Regarding, I'll first say like and with anyone, whether you don't feel you're anywhere close to their level, if you read their stuff, if you consume their stuff, you'll at least subconsciously be
Hmm.
inspired by them. Now, I won't say like my stuff is this guy's stuff, but I guess I read so much of it, maybe there's something in there. I, for the most part, really like Tom King stuff.
Oh,
I love specifically like when he does like a maxi series. I think the
hmm.
guy is a master at a 12 issue maxi series.
I brought one of these
I
with me
still need to
today.
read Animal Pound. That's
Yeah,
the thing, is like the past few years, like every time you go into a comic shop, there is a Tom King book, if not three or
I
four
was
of
gonna
them.
say there's about
Uh,
4 right now, and I'm only
yeah,
reading, I think 2 of them, and then the others I'm kind of trade waiting. But yeah, he's somebody who I feel like I don't really care what he's writing. I think
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to enjoy it on some level, even if it's not. some of it's not as strong as others, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Animal
Oh,
Pound's one I
100%.
would definitely recommend. I read the first trade of Wonder Woman. I'm not a big Wonder Woman fan, but I really enjoyed it. He did some good things with it, so I'm
Well,
with
that's the
you.
thing is like I'm a little bit behind on Tom King. Like I still need to read Human Target. I still haven't read Human Target. I
Oh,
really want to. I
yeah,
really want to. I'll
the
probably
thing
buy it like
you
for
should.
Christmas or
I'll
something.
tell you, you
But
should.
yeah.
You utilize your library.
Yeah, yeah.
Let this old man tell you. You don't have to spend your money if you don't want to. But Human Target is definitely one. That one is a love letter to the Justice League that I loved reading. And the tone of the art in that has this like 1950s mid-century aesthetic that is just it blew me away how good it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was
Like
great. Mr. Miracle was
yes,
another
Mr.
one.
Miracle is fantastic. Like I've read everything of Tom King except all of his Batman run, but I've read everything of Tom King from when he hit the scene with Sheriff of Babylon all the way to like 2022. I've read all of that stuff. I just got to catch up from 2022 to present day sort of thing.
So
Um,
have you read I have not read. Have you read Vision?
yes, Vision's
O-
great.
Okay. Would you
Yeah.
put that on par with Miracle Man and other things of
Um,
his you've read or no?
Regarding like what I've read, if I had like a scale list, like a top tier list, my top favorite book is one that not a lot of people know about, especially nowadays, especially with a
Hmm.
year ago, the Supergirl movie being announced. A lot of people know about Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. When that
Yep.
first came out, like no one really knew about that. Once the movie came out, sales like crazy. But that's not the only super family book he did. He did a book called Superman Up in the Sky that
Oh,
me personally, and I might be a little bit biased because Superman's my favorite superhero. Me personally, that's my favorite Tom King book, is Superman Up in the Sky. I absolutely love that book. The issue of why people haven't heard of it is it originally started out as one of those Walmart books where Walmart had the 100-page anthologies and stuff,
right.
and it was within those anthologies. Then once that ended, DC collected it and put it in issues, and then they eventually put it in a trade. And then the trade went out of stock, and only recently, probably whenever he was making deals with like DC Studios, did they like put it back in stock, like reprint it. So
Okay.
you can get Superman Up in the Sky now in Amazon, but two,
Couldn't
3 years
before.
ago,
Sure.
it's $50 on eBay, sort of thing. But that is not only one of my favorite Tom King books, that is probably my favorite Superman book. Yes, I've read Superman, All Star Superman.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's top 10 Superman books for sure. Me personally, I like Superman Up in the Sky more than All Star Superman.
Okay.
All Star
I wrote it
Superman,
down. I want to read it.
All Star Superman is phenomenal. People will go after me on this. There's a couple issues that you could have trimmed possibly.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. I think it was like issue 7 and 8. I think you could have trimmed that a little bit.
For me,
Um,
Grant Morrison is one of those writers that when I'm reading one of his books, he decides things happened between the panels, between the issues that he can refer to, but that I didn't have to see. I'm the kind of reader that's sometimes dumb, and so when I get that, I feel like I missed something, and his audience, people who love Grant Morrison, they love that part of him. And for me, yeah, I kind of want a few more details, I guess. With in regards to All Star Superman, I just loved that he leaned in so much to the Silver Age part of it.
oh yeah, yeah.
Tom King is definitely leans into this realism, and he just does something with damaged characters that uh, he does it a lot. Mr. Miracle,
That
Vision, all of the and the Supergirl
well,
story,
that's the
but he
thing
does it so
is
well.
he does it very well, but I almost at one point thought he's doing it well, but is this all he does? Is this all he
Hmm.
does is these breakdown of these characters where it is like super deep and a lot of times very sad. Um, he breaks down Superman with Up in the Sky, but it is not by any means a sad book. It
Yeah.
showed to me that Tom King, like, he can do these deep
Okay.
dives into characters without it being like, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah.
need, I need a drink after this or whatever.
Let's talk real quick here. Since we're talking Supergirl, JSS wants to
Yeah,
know what your thoughts are on Supergirl from the Flash movie. And
so I don't hate the Flash movie. I don't
okay.
think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's a
Yeah.
great movie. Um, my personal favorite things from that movie, things that like stood out to me. Overall, it's average, maybe above average, but the things I was like, I am going to remember those scenes. Uh, the very first one, people are going to think this is dumb. The baby scene,
Yeah.
the baby's falling out of the hospital. I thought that was hilarious. I
I
thought that
laughed.
was
I
I thought
did.
it was a hilarious scene. Like,
I
yes,
thought
it's
this is
CGI babies, and yes, the VFX department was probably rushed, but I think it honestly works better with it being CGI, because if it was real babies, like, that's almost,
sure.
like, too much sort of thing.
It
Like
I'll only disagree in that it went on too long. I think if they could
I'd
have made
agree.
it,
I'd agree.
if they could have made that a little shorter, it would have worked better.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend our hour just destroying the Flash movie because I did hate it. I did, but I'm with you. Like what I tried to do was okay because I don't like the guy who played the Flash.
Yeah, yeah.
As set aside personal stuff, I just don't feel like he's Barry Allen because I
Yeah,
am a
yeah.
Barry
I
Allen
agree.
fan.
I agree.
But in watching that movie, I'm like, okay, what can I get out of this and like? And it's definitely not going to be the character of Barry Allen, but that scene was one. Like there was real potential in the comedy that they set up
Yeah.
right there in the beginning. And as far as Supergirl went, as an Elseworld Supergirl, I really liked her. I liked
Well,
the costume.
regarding the Supergirl thing, like that leads into the other thing that like stood out to me. Very small scene, but it was the scene in the movie, aside from at the very end where they're purposely tugging on your heartstrings, where he has to put the
Yeah.
can of tomato soup back into the
Yeah.
buggy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's sad, but it's very clear the studio's like, hey, here's the time to cry, sort of thing. There's a scene before that where it doesn't seem like they're trying that, but it hit me hard. It's whenever Kara is talking to Zod. She's talking to Zod. This is before they're about to fight. I forgot exactly what was said, but something in their dialogue. I think it talked about how Zod had killed Kal-El or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. Or Zod said something that he was going to kill someone or that he did something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But Kara's reaction, like she has, I think she just says no. She's just like,
Okay.
no, and then just like charges him. That scene like hit me. I forgot exactly what it was, whether Zod killed Kal-El as a baby or whatever it was, but
There it
that
is.
hit
Richard's
hard.
talking about the baby didn't survive. It's when
That's what
they
it
sent
was.
Kal-El and she was supposed to be the one. They went with the classic story. She's supposed to be the one
Yeah.
that protected him, and that the baby did not survive. And Matt, she's not my Supergirl either. That's why I
Yeah,
said
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Elseworlds. Like, I mean,
Elseworlds. Yeah.
if I'm looking at that movie as a alternate universe and Elseworlds type of story, one of the things I did like about it was the prison breakout of her finally getting the sunshine and powering up. I thought the desert fight was pretty well choreographed. But yeah, I'm not going to fault that actress for not being blonde. I'm not going to fault that actress for playing the part that they wrote for her. Because I tell you what, if they asked me to be Supergirl, I'd put the damn suit on and do it because it's money, and these
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
hungry just like we all are. I hated the movie, but like you, I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
find some things I liked about it, and I'm not going to fault her for that. I got to say hi to my niece. Hi, Genevieve. Thanks for watching a show about comic books and nerdery.
But yeah, by
Um,
no means do I love that movie, but like there are scenes like those two things, and even the very end, the shopping cart. Yes, they're purposely trying to make us cry, but that was a good scene. So there's scenes here and there that I'm like, hey, that's above average, or that's above crap, sort of thing.
well, let's go into artists. Okay, I'm a reader. I'm not a writer. I'm not an artist, and you are a writer. Are you an artist at all? Do you have dreams of
Uh,
drawing?
So my mom was an art teacher. So I grew up around
Stepo,
art my
hello.
whole life. Hey, I grew up around art my entire life, learning art, going to art museums, all this sort of stuff. Got a huge appreciation for art. I suck at art though. I do stick figures. That's about where I am. But even though I'm not good at it, I have a huge appreciation for it. I absolutely love art. I love talking about art, even though I'm not the one doing it, sort of thing. I'm a writer, but no, I absolutely love art. And regarding some of my favorite artists, this isn't the my favorite artist, but he's a writer artist in one.
Okay.
Jeff Lemire is one of my
Okay.
favorite
Heck yeah.
writers.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite writers. I really like his art. I know
I
his art
love
is
his art.
divisive, but I love just the weird different style he brings, the watercolors,
Yes.
the I don't know, he just brings it's clear when you see a Jeff Lemire book, when he's written it
Yeah.
and he did the
Keep
art,
talking. I'm going
it's
to grab
clear it's a
something.
Jeff Lemire. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Jeff Lemire is one of my favorite writers. I love him as an artist. Favorite artist, though, modern day would be Jason Fabic and Brad Anderson together.
Okay.
Anything those two guys do, they don't do enough stuff. For people that don't know the stuff they've done, they did Dark Side War. It was a Justice League
Oh,
event back
yeah.
in New
Yeah. Yeah.
52. They did Three Jokers. They're currently doing Rook Exodus at Ghost Machine.
I
They
have
did.
heard that's a book I've not read and have heard
I
nothing but good things about.
I haven't read it, but I'm going to pick it up simply because those two did the art. The story could be crap.
No,
Um,
I've heard
I just
people
want to
love
see
it.
that art though.
Like out
Uh,
of those Ghost Machine books, I've basically it's like people like Geiger the best and Rook
yeah, yeah,
seems to, or they like Rook the best. It's one of those two.
yeah.
But
Like his, and I say I should. I'm specific. Jason Fabic and Brad Anderson together, to me, are, in my personal opinion, the best modern day art duo.
okay,
Anything they do, like I want to see them do more. I want to specifically see them do. I know we're burnt out on events, but let's hand them another event. You will not be burnt out on an event if they're doing the art. The reason I say that, Dark Side War,
yeah,
Jeff
I mean,
Johns does Jeff John does a okay job at the story. The story's like 6 out of 10. The art though in Dark Side War is
yeah.
like, oh my god, this is amazing.
If you're an art guy, I can totally see that. Like some people will buy anything if it's their favorite artist, and I mean, I'm jealous of jealous. I'm guilty of that as well. That if I really like an artist and they do a book, even if it's something I'm not particularly interested in, I'm going to get it just because I'm going to enjoy the art. But like Dan Mora, I think is a great artist.
Yes.
I was reading World's Finest at least 60-70% because of his art. Not that the stories weren't good, they were, but when he left the book, I left the book, and then
Yeah, yeah.
he left because he's doing the event, right? Let's go back to an
Yeah, yeah.
event. He's doing Absolute Power, and I picked up the first one, and even with his art, I was like, and I'm out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just I can read this a million different ways cheaper than monthly, and it just wasn't. He could keep me on World's Finest. He could keep me on a monthly story, but he couldn't keep me on an event.
Well, a good way to put it is an artist can bring you into buying that book. A writer will
Yes.
keep you in picking
Yes.
it up.
And do you know this book that Jeff Lemire
Yes.
has just done?
I was actually trying to buy that cover. It whenever he put it on
Yes.
comicconart.com, it got snatched up within like the first 10 minutes. I really wanted to buy that cover. It was probably like $2,000. I would have done it though, but it would have
So
been the most expensive thing I ever spent. I like collecting original comic art,
it
but I've never spent over $500 on something.
this was not the best first issue for sure. Like, but I have a lot of faith in him as a
Yeah,
writer,
yeah,
and it was interesting enough. And just knowing him, it's basically a planned um, like 4 chunk hardcover kind of thing is what he's got. These 4 big arcs. And I like that Boom has given him some freedom to do that. But I'm with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Like people look at his art sometimes, and it is, I don't know. It's like it's clunky and it's a little bit ugly and lumpy. But man, when it's the right story, like Essex County, if you've ever read
Essex
that of
County is
his,
fantastic. Yeah.
that's one of the best things I think I've read in 10 years. And it's just an amazing book, and the art is a big part of why it works so well. It's
Oh
he
yeah.
tells a great story, but he's also telling a great story with that weird clunky art of his. It just works so beautifully in that
Well, I
story.
mean, all of Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth,
Ah,
I don't, it might be my second favorite of his, but Sweet Tooth, regarding him doing the writing and the artist, is
yes.
probably my favorite of his. Like the guy is fantastic. I mean, it's cool whenever he does Marvel or DC stuff. I prefer when he just does indie stuff. His indie
Yeah,
stuff
I
to
do
me
too.
is a lot. I mean,
I
his
do too.
Marvel and DC stuff is good. His indie stuff is way better though.
Yeah. I
Like
want him to make his money. I like his,
yeah,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
that he's getting DC work. I think he did something. I haven't read it, but I feel like he did some Justice League stuff at one point.
Well, he's
I know he did
currently
with Black Hammer.
with the whole absolute power stuff. He's going to be doing Justice League of Society in like a month or so.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah. It. I mean, and that for me, instant buy. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
I will definitely check that out. Um. So, here we go. Okay. I'll start this one off. JSS said, what did you think of the Netflix adaptation of Sweet Tooth?" Okay, there were things that were definitely cuter and cleaner and more friendly than the book was, but it was like perfect for me. I have a son who's almost 10 years old, and this was like it was something I could watch with him that I think like was just a really cool fantasy. And God, there's just so many great elements to that story that they kept. The relationship with him and Big Man, the mom and all of the adopted kids. Like there was just so much really cool, the goodness of humanity in the face of so much evil. And for me to be able to share that with a little kid was pretty damn cool for me. So JSS, I freaking loved it. I love the story.
That
I love them both separately, but I really did love the Netflix adaptation. I think because of my experience. JS, you keep asking questions. Will you please type whether you liked it or not? And what did you think, Brandon? Did you watch it?
I saw the first season whenever it first came out. I still need to see season 2 and 3. I watched it with my sister, little sister, and
Mm-hmm.
that got her into it. But I still need to watch season 2 and 3 with her. But what I saw, yes, it is different from the comic. Like the comic's basically rated R. The show
Yes.
is PG-13
Yeah.
basically.
Very much.
Um, what I do like about it though is one, yeah, the show you can bring like other people in aside from adults to watch it, as well as it's different enough from the comic to where you can enjoy them both separately. It's not like a
Yes.
one for one adaptation, which
Right.
I love. I'm in the small minority of like I don't want people to do one for one adaptations. That's boring. I'll just read the book if I want a one
Mm-hmm.
for one adaptation. Whether it's a novel, whether it's a comic, wherever it may be, adaptation, people forget what adapting means. It
Yeah.
means change with adapting, like simply talking about our environment with animals adapt, they change, they still keep some of who they are, but they change. And that's what I like to see with movies and
Yeah.
TV shows based on stuff is it keeps some of what it was, but it does have a change to where us that read it can see something kind of new. And that's what I
And
saw with that Sweet Tooth show.
Jab, I hope you really enjoy that movie. I've heard nothing but amazing things, and thanks for stopping by.
Yes, I
Just to
still
say
need to
hi, if
watch that.
nothing else. I want to see that as well. And then JSS pops in. I think it's a superb adaptation of a comic book for everyday folks. It helped get
Yeah.
more people into the community. That's never a bad thing. Brandon, I love what you just said about adaptation because I think I'm going to go to The Watchmen. The Watchmen
Right,
movie
right.
is almost a one for one, adaptation. And I would have said that that was freaking impossible. And almost up until the end, it's there. I mean, it's literally dialogue right from the comic book, shots right from the comic book, beautifully done, by
Yeah,
Zack
yeah.
Snyder, somebody who was, I mean, he was born to adapt big stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes his own ideas don't always pan out.
Yeah.
But that book was so good. And then at the end, to hear people like, "Oh, it wasn't a big squid, so I don't like it." What they did still worked. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they didn't need to do every last thing. We didn't need to
Yeah.
see every last bit of the pirate story. And I do love that they did the pirate comic and then did like a version of the movie where you
Yeah, yeah.
could intersperse all of that in there.
Yeah, get the
So
director's cut or
so
whatever
if
it
you
was.
want
Yeah.
that, it's out there, you
Yeah.
don't have but I think that the idea that you change it for the medium and to best serve the medium that you're doing, you can fail at that. I mean,
Yeah, oh,
that
yeah.
it can
Yeah.
still be really badly done, but Sweet Tooth was excellently done in that regard. Like
Yeah.
you said, they took it from R to PG-13, but they didn't lose the heart of it, and that's
No,
what was
not at
so
all.
great.
Yeah.
That's what
It
was
it
so
it
great.
was fun showing, like, because my sister was older. She was, like 13 or 14 at the time
Thanks
when
for
it came out.
stopping by, Matt. Love you,
Oh,
buddy.
thanks, man. But I showed her, some of the stuff from Sweet Tooth because it was like I'm blanking right now. What's the beaver character's name?
What is it?
Bobby.
Bobby,
Bobby, that's what.
Bobby.
So Bobby is this so cute and adorable character in the show. This cute
Right.
little adorable thing. I was like, and he's not like ugly or hideous in the
No,
comic,
but
but I was like, this is what he looks like in the comic, to where like you would
yeah,
be scared to see
he's
him if you
he's
just
not
ran into him, sort of thing.
yeah, he's not the teddy bear.
No,
And
no.
and that was the thing. Like he was so adorable in the show. I loved it every time they showed him. But yeah, you're right. It's Jeff Lemire's art just by itself gave the comic book such a different tone.
Yeah.
And so yeah, uh, let's see. A fun film for popcorn was The Losers, but the comic book by Jack and Diggle was far superior. Oh, Jock and Diggle. Yeah, The
I don't know if
Losers.
I've seen the
That
movie.
so that was actually, speaking of Watchmen, somebody from The Watchmen was in that. The main guy, the guy that played Negan in Walking Dead.
Oh,
Losers
yeah,
was
yeah.
Losers. It was a completely serviceable, fun movie. But the comic book was a Vertigo book that was more dark and about
Right, right.
a group of people. I didn't read the whole thing. I feel like I read a trade or two, and I don't think it was too terribly long. But yeah, it's another good example of something that had kind of that rated R tone that was then turned into more of a popcorn flick or more of a general audience thing. And that's not bad in and of
Yeah,
itself,
yeah.
because it does get more people to think, maybe I want to, I liked this movie. Maybe I want to check out a comic book.
Hey,
Um,
that Sweet Tooth show, as in terms of tone, in terms of like cute versus like kind of scary, ugly stuff, it got my sister to check out the comic. So like if she checked it out, I'm sure there's other people that checked out the comic. So
yes.
it's
Yes.
it's one of those things.
Um, okay, let's talk. We're fine on time. You had talked about that Gallows Man started as a screenplay, so you have to be. We've talked about artists and writers. Well, let's talk about movies. What kind of movies do you like to watch that you feel like? You know what? Let's hit a genre I know you like, because this was a question that got brought up earlier. Talk about horror. What kind of horror movies do you like?
I'm a mix. Like I like a mix of stuff. Like horror is such a broad category. There's so
It
many
is.
subgenres under it, but
Sure.
that's what's great about it, is like
Yeah.
there's so much within it. But I like a mix of stuff. Like some of my favorites are John Carpenter's The Thing is definitely up there. John Carpenter's The Thing's one of them. The Descent from 2005. I really like The Descent. It's
That's a
it's
good movie.
it's one that like doesn't get talked about enough, and yet like it has the monster stuff at the end, like the little goblin men living
Yes.
under
Yes.
the earth, sort of thing. But people don't also talk about like before that, when they're simply just spelunking in this cave. I'm not claustrophobic, but that movie
Right.
made me feel claustrophobic.
Yes. Yes.
The fear of them, just no scary stuff, no monsters, nothing like that yet. Just trying to navigate through this cave was scary. Um, I love all kinds of horror. I like slashers. I like the monster stuff. But if you can do something like that, where the first half of the descent, the fear is just, can we get out of this cave? And we're fitting through tight corners and stuff, and you're just like, oh gosh, like
Yeah.
I love when and I love the fun, cheesy horror movie as stuff as well, like overly grotesque stuff, funny stuff. I like Psycho Gorman. I thought that was really
Oh,
funny.
that
Um,
not enough people know what that is.
no,
I mean, that's a love letter to 80s. I wouldn't even say slasher movies. I almost feel like, I mean, I know you're just a wee pup, but like the Ghoulies movies or Critters. There were
well,
these movies that had puppets and practical effects, and Psycho Gorman was all
yeah,
about this makeup work and this over the top stuff. It had this real 80s rock and roll aesthetic to it that
oh yeah, yeah.
I just absolutely loved.
Psycho Gorman feels very much like a love letter to those '80s, yeah, like the puppets and stuff, like with killer clowns from outer
I was
space,
just
like
about to
love
say,
letter to
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of stuff, as well as like a love letter to like trauma film sort of stuff, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
overly weird and grotesque stuff sometimes. Like I feel that with Psycho Gourmet, and yet like it was made on like a $40,000 budget. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's crazy to me that they were able to do the level of effects that they did,
Yeah.
um, on that budget. Okay, so if you have a chance, it's late, you're gonna watch a movie, what are you gonna turn on? What's your comfort movie?
Oh, comfort movie.
Not comfort,
That's
like, I
tough.
mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess, or your late night 2 a.m., the family went to
Rewatch.
bed drunk watch. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It's a mix because it can be. I have like my favorite movies, but even some of my favorite movies, it's like not a lot of rewatchability sort of thing.
Okay,
Um, it might not be the number one, but a lot of the comfort watches are like comedy movies.
okay,
But something that's not comedy is probably like The Dark Knight. It's the
okay.
movie I've probably seen the most. I'm not even saying
I'm
it's my number one movie, but amazing rewatchability with
Yeah,
that
I
movie.
go back to that one, I mean, all the time.
Yeah,
And the Batman is like slowly catching up in terms of a movie that I watch over and over again.
yeah,
If
yeah.
if I'm flipping through the streaming and this and that, and I just can't make a decision, those are two movies that I just fall back on almost every time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But like
they're just
the
great.
oh yeah, and the other like comfort watches kind of goes more into comedy, and they're not even like really top 25 movies for me, but I love a lot of comedy stuff. I really like. I know he's divisive. I like at least half of Kevin Smith stuff.
Mhm.
What I'll say with comedies, the comfort stuff, Clerks 1 and 2 are like I love watching those. Uh, Tusk isn't a comedy. I wouldn't say it's a comfort movie, but Tusk is
Spe
it is a
s
comedy thinking about it
Speaking
though.
of Psycho Gorman,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, if you're willing to watch some seriously messed up body horror that just
yeah.
comes at you from nowhere, go watch Kevin Smith's Tusk and
Tusk is fun.
do not know anything about it going in.
Yeah,
The less you know, the better. Steve Driscoll mentions True Romance is a cool
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Steve, this kid's like, he's not even 30 years old, man.
I've
So
seen
I'll
True
tell you,
Romance.
you have?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
True Romance is written by Quentin Tarantino. That
yeah,
is the
yeah,
movie he wrote when he was a video store clerk. I mean, and as a video store clerk from the 90s, that's legendary. Like that's all we all talked about. Oh, well,
yeah, yeah.
we could all write a movie and get out of this place. And none of us did. But yeah, he was working at a video store. He wrote that screenplay. It got made. And who directed it? It was Tony Scott. It was Tony Scott
That's right. Yeah,
directed
yeah,
it, the Top Gun director, because everything had mist in the background, the way that
yeah,
Tony
yeah.
Scott, it looked like Top Gun. And Quentin Tarantino hated that movie. He hated the way that it was made. It's one of the things that really drove him to become a director. You're talking about Kevin Smith. I love Tarantino movies, like
Oh yeah, I love
even the
Tarantino
ones that
as
get
well.
panned, Jackie Brown, I love that. I love the novel Rum Punch that it's based on,
Well,
written by,
I was
I
about
think
to
it's
say
Donald
there's
Westlake.
kind of, at least what I've seen with like some social media stuff, there's kind of been a like resurgence of Jackie Brown. Like people
Good.
are starting to like
It,
realize like, oh no, it is good. Because even like his lesser movies, lesser in terms of like Quentin Tarantino movies, even
mhm.
stuff like Death Proof, it's still a good movie. It's just for Tarantino, it's a little bit lower, but all of his stuff is good compared to everything else.
But he plays within the genre that he's trying to play in. And so
Exactly.
Death Proof, like they were doing grindhouse movies. And if you like to watch grindhouse movies, and
Yeah.
I do, like cheap, low budget 70s movies, that's what they're like. Not a lot happens because they don't have any freaking money. So they have a script, they have one place, and they just film people talking in that one place and walking in and out of that. He made a grindhouse movie, and it's a
Yeah.
really good one.
I wish I
It's
was old enough in 2007 when that came out to go to a theater and watch the double feature
yeah,
of that and Planet Terror.
and
Like, that would have been
it was
fantastic.
amazing. I did go do that, and in between that, you had all of the trailers for like Thanksgiving, Eli Roth's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thanksgiving, which actually just got made a couple of years
Which
ago. Was
is
it?
the best. I'm not saying it's amazing, but
It was
regarding
fun.
Thanksgiving, it's the best Thanksgiving horror movie.
It was fun. We enjoyed it. Um, so yeah, I just watched. I hadn't seen it. I just don't get to the theater very much anymore unless it's like a really big thing that I want to go see that I feel like almost requires a theater experience. And I
Yeah, yeah.
love the theater. It's just money. It's money and people. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I like people, don't get me wrong, but I freaking hate them in a theater. I hate them in
yeah.
mass. They always manage to make me angry. And I'm like, I just spent, literally 60, $70 for this one movie. So I tend not to go that much. But I just saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
was able to watch that, and I thought that was just excellent. I thought it
Yeah,
was,
it's great.
again, like Tarantino is such a he's such a very he's very specific in the way that he does things, the way that he frames things, the way that he has actors carry themselves. I feel like if you're watching one of his movies, you almost always know it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
What's
I really liked it.
What's interesting about his movies is like as you go on in life, at least like I've seen this with me, and I've actually talked with people about this, and they've agreed this has been the same thing with them. As you go on with life, your favorite Tarantino movie always changes. Like throughout the years, it
Yeah,
will change where like, hey, at this point, this one was my favorite. And then
right.
time has passed and it's like, no, actually, this one's my favorite, like that sort of thing. To where like it just shows the quality of work the
Yeah,
guy has. Like if you're every few years, it's like, actually, I like this one more than this one, sort of
yeah.
thing.
Depending on where your season is in life is where he was.
Exactly.
Um, I want, we're coming up on our hour, and I want to bring it back to comic books, and I want to bring it back to Gallows Man, which is why we're here. In the description of this video is a link to your Instagram, is a link to the Kickstarter, is a link to the YouTube channel that you have where you do a podcast. Right? Isn't that what's on
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's us just shooting the breeze, and
Yeah.
we have YouTube clips as well. So people, if you don't want to listen to hour and a half to 2.5 hours, you can at least check out the clips. That the clips are real funny. They're 1 to 2 minutes long, sort of thing.
And so I know we both brought some books, but we're just not going to be able, that's okay. Because this has been I've actually had a blast talking with you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
On one of your Instagram posts, you posted this, and I want to pop this up, and then we can segue this back into Gallows Man and how people can go. But this is one of, when it comes to independent books, and I just love independent books from the 1980s and 90s. There's so many that I collect individual issues of, or I get the trades. This is one that I collect the phone books of, and I almost have them all at this point. Cerebus is, starts off as a Conan parody, Conan the
Yeah,
Barbarian,
yeah.
and then just eventually just turns into its own world of this, I'm sorry, he is a horrible character, like
Yeah.
as a person,
Yeah.
as an aardvark. He is a horrible person. And then to see that you posted that, and you are, younger. Even me, this book started in 1977. I was
Yeah.
one, so I started reading this in the 90s, and it was still being published and still ongoing. I'm curious how you came across it and what you think of it. Speaking of season of life, like how much of it have you read, and what do you think of Cerebus?
I haven't read. I still need to read a bunch of it. I haven't read much past issue 25. I
Okay.
still need to read a bunch more. And also I read that like a few years ago. So if I, which I will one day get back into it, I just need to start from beginning and just binge it, sort of thing. But I have always loved Dave Smith's work, like not only his writing, his art. I love his art.
His
Like,
character work, the cartoon work that he does with Cerebus, because he partners with Gerard. So Gerard
yeah.
is the guy that does the backgrounds, and then he does all the characters. But yeah, his character work is so dynamic and makes me think of oh my gosh, why am I drawing? Will Eisner. There's an animated
Yeah.
quality to Will Eisner's people, the way that they're always moving, like there's so much motion, and Dave Sim has that same thing. And then you marry that with these immensely detailed backgrounds that Gerard
Yeah.
draws and
It's a
creates.
perfect. It's a contrast, but it's a
Yeah.
perfect contrast.
It reminds me of old style animation where somebody would paint a background, and then
Yeah.
and then they were doing, they were drawing cells on top of animated characters, like, old Snow White or Disney things.
And I'm not saying it's this, but it kind of flows into what modern manga looks like. Modern manga, the mangaka usually, if it's a big book, usually isn't doing the backgrounds. Usually there's an assistant that's doing the backgrounds, and usually backgrounds are super detailed.
Right.
And then the mangaka is the one doing the characters, and the characters are less detailed just because they have 20 pages to do in a couple weeks, sort of thing. But that's how I see it. I'm not saying Dave Sims is like manga art. I'm not saying
No,
the
but
two are the same, but there is that similarity there of
But
you
yeah,
have someone doing the backgrounds, and the backgrounds look very different. Then you have the main person doing the characters and stuff.
yeah, I was blown away when I saw you post that, because it's a book. As far as I know, it's been over for a while. I really
Yeah.
haven't kept up.
I think issue 300 was the
Yeah,
last one.
and that was always
I
his goal.
Yeah. Like I first found out about Cerebus like before YouTube channels and stuff. Like I learned more about Cerebus through YouTube channels, but I first like read it some in like dollar bins. Like dollar
Yes,
bins, not specifically like the original copies of Cerebus. In the
right.
late
They did the
80s, they
Sword of
did the
Cerebus and things.
bi-weekly, it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
bi-weekly reprintings. And I like, you can probably go to local comic shop and they're probably in dollar bins still, those bi-weekly reprints. But that's how I read the first
right.
25 issues, was those dollar bin
And
reprints.
that's what I love about these phone books, is honestly, like they're printed on cheap newsprint.
Yeah.
They're pretty no frills, for a black and white, but they're very thick. I mean, most of them are 25 to 30 issues each, and they're 40 to 50 bucks, and that's if you pay retail, and most of the time you don't have to pay retail. And so I have a couple of holes, like, so I've read up to the point, and I'm not gonna, even though I've collected past that, I don't want to read it, because it is a continuous story.
Yeah.
And even though, I appreciate the art, even if I can't appreciate the artist, there's a lot of things about
Right.
Dave Sim as a person that
Yeah.
are controversial and problematic, but just as a character study, as something unique, one person created this particular character and stuck with it for so long, that he set a goal to do 300 issues,
Yeah.
to have it be the entire life, and he's going to end with the death of a character, and he did it.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing in the field of independent comic books. So just as that kind of oddity, I think it's worth checking out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I totally understand if it's not for everybody, but yeah, Swords and Sorcery, Conan parody, but he's an aardvark. He's the Earth Pig Unbound or whatever. It's
And that post that you brought up, for those that don't know, I made a post because I was reading issue 91. I found that in a back issue.
Mhm.
And in the back, Dave Sim is selling the original art. This was
Yes.
1986 is when the issue was published. He's selling the art, and it's stuff from like issue 2 of Cerebus, issue 4 of Cerebus, the early Cerebus up until like issue 25, issue 30, that sort of stuff, ranging from $50 to $150 a piece. He was selling it, and you paid like $4 shipping and handling, sort of thing.
And it was the
Even with
original art.
It's the original art. And I factored it up because I was just fascinated by it. And I was talking with my sister, and she was fascinated by it. If you bought all of those pieces, it was 60 pieces in total in that back catalog, it would have cost you about $4,000 back then. And then if you do inflation, that's about 8,000 today. Um, if you bought that, if you bought all of those, and then you sold them for what the minimum would be, because the minimum of these Cerebus pages nowadays are a few thousand a piece.
Wow.
Like 3,000 a piece, and
Yeah.
that's for probably those like $50 pages. So let's say the minimum 60 pages, $3,000. If you sold all of them, it's $180,000. Something you spent like with inflation
Yeah.
$8,000 on. It's funny to see that, of this thing that, like, sure, it was big at the time, but Cerebus was only around not even 10 years up until that point. And then you go on heritage auctions, and stuff is selling for tens of thousands of dollars regarding Cerebus artwork. It's
So
crazy.
let me make a masterful segue here. I believe that him selling that art was the Kickstarter of its time, because he
It
was
was.
using that money to keep his independent book going. And that's why we're here today. So pinned at the top of this chat, if you are watching the replay and the chat is there, or down in the description, we've got a link to the Kickstarter for Gallows Man issue 3, which is already fully funded. So it's not like you have to hope it's going to happen. It's
Yeah, you'll
happening.
get
It's
your
done.
books.
It's
And
going to happen.
I've done Kickstarters before. I've sent out books before. So like I've built up a reputation. Like
Yeah.
one, you're going to get the books because it is fully funded, and two, I've done this before. It's not my first rodeo, so you'll be in safe hands.
So go and check it out. And if you're interested, like he said, I feel like there's a tier for everybody to spend what they're comfortable with. That you can get an all digital package, and you can get completely caught up. If you want a physical package, I mean, for the amount of pages you're getting, and for something that is being done, basically by I know that you have artists as well that you work with, but you're definitely spearheading it. So one person. I don't think that cost is much. That $35 price for the
And
what is it called?
it's thick books as well. It's a complete print.
Yes, right,
Thank you,
right,
JSS. Yeah, it like each issue of the Gallows Man is 52 plus pages. Like issue 1, 52 plus pages.
right.
Issue 2, 52 plus pages. Issue 3, 60 plus pages. Tales from Town City is 32 pages. You're getting almost 200 pages of comics just right there. It's a great bundle, whether you're getting digitally or you're getting physically. Or we were talking about original art. If you want some original art, that's available. And you also get all the books and all the variant covers, all of those signed. You get the Zoom script consultation with me. You get all the PDFs. There's like 25 items
Yeah.
just in those art bundles. It's not just the piece of art, which the art is the big thing, but you get a slew of other things as well. But
And
you
because
don't
it's
have to just get the art bundle. There's other stuff.
already funded and it is happening, I did see that you're actually working on now your third stretch goal. The
Third
second one
stretch goal.
has been reached. So
Yeah.
as more people jump on, more things become part of these packages. I'll just go ahead and I really did enjoy reading the 2 issues that you sent me. In particular, I like at the end your little letter column.
Oh, thank you.
Section. I giggled. I thought it was clever. I thought it was well done.
Thank you.
So I appreciate you reaching out to me, Brandon, and coming on and hanging out with me and just talking about all the things we talked about here. But the reason he's here is for people to go and check out his stuff. So I would appreciate it if anybody who is watching this would at least go as far as to click the link and check out the Kickstarter. And if
At,
you are so inclined, please pledge to back at a tier that you're comfortable with, and get a copy of a book that I think is pretty dang good and fun to read.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
At the very least, click on the link to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
I worked pretty hard on the trailer, as well as there's 6 preview pages of issue 3. There's 7 preview pages of issue 1, all on that Kickstarter campaign page. So you can get a good feel of the book to see if it's for you, if it's not for you, sort of thing. But yeah, any and every bit helps. Digital tiers, physical book tiers, art bundles, retailer bundles, a little bit of everything for anyone.
All right. Jacob, you joined late. You're going to have to go back and watch from the beginning, buddy. Thank you, JSS and Matt. Especially thank you to Richard, my wonderful moderator and friend. And thank you to anybody else who's up here in the chat. I know Steve Driscoll stopped by, Steppo stopped by, Matt stopped by, Jab stopped by. Man, that's a long list. I'm scrolling through here. Hey, my sister stopped by. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Hagen. Cliff watched us for a minute, but I think he got involved in his own stream, but that's okay. He is a human dynamo, and I adore him. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Go check out the links below. Check out Brandon's work. I will see you again soon. Thank you so much. Brandon, don't you go anywhere. We'll hang out just for a minute.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, okay, thank you. All right, thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
It's always awkward for a minute while I click